Have you ever wondered why a single argument, a single look, can leave your whole body trembling as if the ground beneath you has disappeared? Why one rejection can spiral into days of restlessness, sleepless nights, and that gnawing sense of danger that never quite leaves? Imagine standing before a broken mirror. The glass reflects you back in fragments, eyes here, mouth there, a face that no longer feels whole. That mirror becomes your nervous system after trauma, a surface that once held coherence, now shattered into pieces that cut whenever you try to touch them. The body remembers what the mind tries to deny. Shoulders that lift like shields, a throat that tightens whenever silence grows too heavy, fingers that dig into the palms until the skin marks itself with crescents of unspoken words. These are not random quirks. They are the nervous system holding the echoes of battles you survived but never fully left behind. And when no one ever taught you how to calm that battlefield, life begins to feel like an endless war. Some women learn early that love is conditional, that safety is fleeting, that their voice is too much or not enough. The inner child retreats, hiding behind locked doors, clutching secrets she cannot name. The shadow grows restless, feeding on shame and self-betrayal, whispering, "You are unworthy, you are unsafe." And every time your nervous system is triggered, it is as if that child is dragged back into the war zone, screaming for help you do not know how to give. Heavy, isn't it? Carl Jung once wrote that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our lives and we will call it fate. The dysregulated nervous system is one of those unconscious rulers. It pulls you into panic before you know why. It shuts you down in numbness just when you need to speak. It keeps you dancing on eggshells in relationships, mistaking anxiety for attraction, chaos for passion, because chaos is familiar and the body clings to what it knows. The Stoics, in their stone-carved wisdom, believe the greatest freedom is mastery over the self. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But trauma rearranges that order. It convinces you that outside events are gods to be obeyed and your body a prisoner to their storms. So you end up living in reaction, never creation. You wait for the other's mood, the text message, the tone of voice, to decide how safe you feel in your own skin. But safety is not given. It must be reclaimed. And that reclamation begins in the body, not in the mind. Because the mind will rationalize abuse, excuse betrayal, rewrite pain as love. Yet the body never lies. Notice how your chest tightens when you silence your truth. Notice how your stomach knots when you agree to what you do not want. Notice how your breath shortens when you stand before someone who treats you as less than sacred. The nervous system keeps score, whether you admit it or not. The broken mirror lingers in the background, each shard reflecting not just your face but your history, the arguments overheard as a child, the door slammed in rage, the silence that punished you more than words ever could. You may try to walk away from it, but it follows, lodged inside your skin. This is why calming the nervous system is not a luxury. It is survival. It is the difference between repeating the same cycles and stepping into freedom. You might think, but how do I gather those shards without cutting myself? How do I face the fragments without bleeding again? The truth is, healing is not about erasing the cracks. It is about learning how to hold them without breaking further. Jung would call this integration, the meeting of shadow and light, child and adult, past and present. When the nervous system finds regulation, the mirror does not return to perfection, but it reflects wholeness again. And yet here is the provocation. How much longer will you keep abandoning your own body to appease the world? How many more nights will you lie awake, heart racing, because you mistake someone else's approval for oxygen? How many more times will you betray your own nervous system, telling it to shut up, calm down, get over it, when what it is really saying is, see me, hear me, hold me? The cost of ignoring these signals is rising. It shows up in autoimmune disorders, in chronic fatigue, in relationships that drain you until you are a shell of the woman you once were. Left unattended, the dysregulated nervous system does not soften with time. It hardens, calcifies, becomes the prison bars around your spirit. And the longer you wait, the more you will confuse survival for living. Imagine again the broken mirror. The fragments still glimmer under the dim light, but somewhere inside, a question stirs. What if those pieces are not meant to be thrown away? What if they are waiting to be reassembled into a mosaic, different, scarred, but unbreakably yours? The body T. Remblez not to torment you, but to awaken you. Every knot, every shiver, every pounding heartbeat is an invitation. The only question left is whether you will keep turning away or finally lean in to listen. Some women think that time alone will soften the storm inside, that if they keep busy enough, the nervous system will eventually learn to quiet itself. But silence without guidance is not healing. It is avoidance, and avoidance always compounds the cost. Picture the broken mirror again. Leave it unattended and the dust gathers, the edges rust, and soon it becomes not just broken but forgotten, abandoned in a corner of the soul. A dysregulated nervous system is not just about trembling hands or sleepless nights. It is about the way life begins to organize itself around fear. She avoids intimacy, not because she does not long for it, but because every closeness feels like standing on a cliff's edge. She explodes at minor inconveniences, not because she is cruel, but because her body has rehearsed danger so many times, it no longer distinguishes between a slammed door and a shattered heart. And you, yes, you know this in your bones, don't you? That sense of always being on alert, scanning the room for danger that never leaves. Jung spoke of archetypes as primordial patterns, the deep forces that live beneath the surface of personality. In trauma, the shadow grows thick with distrust. The inner child, longing for safety, reaches for patterns she once knew, even if they were toxic. And when the nervous system is unregulated, it bends to the anima wounded. Relationships become reenactments, not choices. You find yourself drawn to men who replicate the chaos of your childhood, who feed the nervous system the adrenaline it craves. Because the body confuses familiarity with safety, even when familiarity is poison. This is why calming the nervous system is not just self-care, it is shadow work. To breathe slowly when your body is screaming to run, to ground yourself when every cell is vibrating with the urge to fight, to whisper to your inner child, "You are safe now, I am here," when she is convinced you are about to be abandoned again. These small acts are not weak, they are revolutionary. They are a refusal to let the past dictate the present. The Stoics would say, hold yourself like a fortress, not against life, but against reactivity. Seneca wrote, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Yet trauma rewires that imagination into a theater of horror where every shadow looks like a threat. Regulation is learning to close the curtains, to dim the spotlight, to bring the stage back into the present moment where you are not a child, not abandoned, not powerless. But here is the truth you do not want to hear. As long as you betray your body by ignoring its signals, you continue the cycle. When your throat tightens and you say yes instead of no, you betray yourself. When your chest collapses under someone else's authority and you stay silent, you betray yourself. And every betrayal deepens the fracture in the mirror. Do you feel that ache, the one that whispers, "Enough"? Imagine a woman who begins to notice. At first, just small things. She feels her shoulders lift when she enters the room, so she drops them and breathes. She feels her jaw tighten when she hears his tone, so she releases it instead of snapping back. She lies awake at night, heart pounding, but instead of shaming herself, she places her hand on her chest and whispers, "We are safe." These are not grand gestures, but they are the beginning of reclamation. Each one gathers a fragment of the broken mirror and places it gently back into her hands. And yet regulation is not a linear path. The The nervous system does not heal in a straight line but in spirals. One moment, calm breath flows like a river. The next, panic grips again as if no progress was ever made. This is where most women give up. They believe the relapse means failure, but in truth, it is the rhythm of healing. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The body is learning trust again, and trust must be earned, not demanded. The stakes are high. Without this work, the nervous system drags you into cycles of toxic attraction. You mistake intensity for intimacy, passion for possession. You crave the highs and lows, the push and pull, because the adrenaline feels like love. But love is not adrenaline. Love is regulation. Love is the steady rhythm of a heartbeat that does not spike at the thought of abandonment. Until you learn to calm your nervous system, you will mistake danger for desire and call it fate. The broken mirror waits. Each shard glints with possibility, but also with risk. To gather them is to risk cutting yourself, yes, but to leave them scattered is to risk never seeing yourself whole again. Which pain is worse, to bleed in the act of reassembly or to live forever in fragments? This is the moment of choice, and choice is power. You can continue to live as a slave too. The storm inside, mistaking chaos for love, or you can learn the slow, sacred art of calming the nervous system. No one can make that choice for you. The mirror will not mend itself. Most women are taught to manage appearances, not sensations. To keep the smile fixed even when the stomach churns, to nod politely while the throat burns with unsaid truth, to stay composed while the heart hammers like a trapped bird. But trauma does not care about appearances. It speaks in the language of the body, not the face. And until you learn to listen, the nervous system remains your unacknowledged tyrant, ruling silently from within. The broken mirror waits in the corner of the room. Each shard catches the dim light, sharp, reflective, accusing. It does not let you forget. When you wake with your jaw clenched, when you lose your voice in arguments, when you collapse in exhaustion after carrying a weight that was never yours to hold, it is the mirror reminding you, the fracture is still here. Carl Jung taught that individuation requires confrontation with the shadow. In this realm, the dysregulated nervous system is the shadow's messenger. Every panic surge, every frozen silence, every hypervigilant scan of the environment is a letter delivered from the unconscious. You have not yet faced me. And the longer you resist, the louder it becomes. Heavy, isn't it? That realization that your own body has been writing you letters you've refused to open. So what does it mean to open them? It means sinking into the body instead of fleeing it. Notice the breath as it shortens, then lengthen it deliberately, as if reminding your lungs that time has slowed. Feel the feet on the ground, press them into the earth, whisper to the bones. We are anchored here, we are not floating away. Touch the chest that rises too fast and give it the command your parents never gave you. You are safe. These practices may sound simple, but simple is not the same as easy. They are acts of rebellion against every betrayal your body has endured. The Stoics often spoke of returning to the present moment as the path to tranquility. Epictetus insisted that freedom is not in events themselves, but in our response to them. Trauma fractures that ability to respond. It keeps you hostage to reflexes. Regulation is the art of reclaiming response. Each time you ground your breath instead of spiraling, each time you soften your shoulders instead of snapping, each time you choose silence not from fear but from strength, you are chiseling freedom from stone. But here is where you must be confronted. You cannot heal by intellect alone. You can read 100 books, repeat affirmations until your voice cracks, analyze your childhood in endless loops. If you do not enter the body, the mirror remains shattered. Because the wound lives not in thought but in sensation. It is your skin that flinched, your stomach that nodded, your throat that closed. Until you return to those doorways, healing is only theory. Picture a woman standing barefoot in her room. She places her hand on her belly, feels the trembling there. She does not run, she does not shame herself. She breathes deep and slow, even as her body begs to flee. The tremble eases, not entirely, but enough to prove a truth. Regulation is possible. That moment is not glamorous. No one sees it. No applause greets her. Yet it is more sacred than any performance. Because it is the first time in years she chose to befriend her body instead of abandoning it. Still, the nervous system does not surrender overnight. It will test you again and again. A raised voice may send the heart racing. A slammed door may send the stomach plummeting. You may believe you have regressed, that nothing has changed. But this is not regression, this is rehearsal. Each time you return to the body with gentleness, you carve a new pathway. Slowly, the body learns. Not all voices are danger. Not all doors are abandonment. Not all silence is punishment. This is the slow weaving of safety, where once there was only fear. The cost of not doing this is too heavy to ignore. Without regulation, relationships remain battlegrounds. You mistake dominance for security, submission for peace, chaos for love. You let partners become gods, controlling your pulse, your breath, your sleep. And with every cycle, you lose a little more of yourself until you no longer recognize the woman in the mirror. The broken mirror reflects this danger. One shard shows the girl who flinched when her father's tone turned sharp. Another reveals the woman who stayed silent when her lover dismissed her tears. Another catches the image of sleepless nights, where the body replayed old terrors until morning broke. Each shard is a warning. And yet together, they also contain possibility. Because glass, even broken, still holds light. So ask yourself, will you continue to live shattered, mistaking survival for strength? Or will you dare to pick up the shards, even if her hands bleed, and begin the work of reassembly? Because only by touching what cuts you will you ever learn what it means to be whole. Some women carry the storm so long they mistake the thunder for their own heartbeat. They think the trembling is just who they are, that anxiety is permanent, that exhaustion is destiny. But this is not identity, it is imprint. It is what happens when the nervous system is frozen in time, trapped in the echo of wounds never soothed. And yet, what is imprinted can be rewritten if you dare to step into the fire of awareness. The broken mirror remains, its pieces scattered. To face it is to risk pain. To avoid it is to live blind. Jung called this confrontation with the unconscious the most difficult of tasks, for it demands the courage to face both terror and truth. And the truth is this: your nervous system is not betraying you. It is protecting you, still convinced you are in danger. Every panic surge, every numbing shutdown, every restless night is a survival strategy misfired. Your body believes it is saving your life. Can you feel the paradox? The very reflex that exhausts you was once your only shield. Here lies the turning point. Instead of treating your body as an enemy to conquer, what if you began to treat it as a child to comfort? The inner child never needed perfection. She needed safety. She needed someone to hold her trembling hands and whisper, "You are not alone." When you regulate your nervous system, you are not just calming a body, you are finally becoming the parent your younger self always prayed would appear. Heavy, isn't it? That no one is coming to rescue you. And yet liberating, that you can finally rescue yourself. The Stoics remind us, no man is free who is not master of himself. But mastery is not domination. It is not forcing yourself to be calm through sheer will, nor shaming yourself when panic rises. True mastery is partnership, the dialogue between body and mind, shadow and light, child and adult. When the breath deepens, when the shoulders soften, when the ground is felt beneath bare feet, mastery looks like gentleness disguised as strength. Imagine a woman beginning this work. She sits quietly in her room, places both hands over her heart. At first, the heartbeat is erratic, frantic, like a bird slamming itself against a cage. She does not panic. She whispers, "I hear you, I am here." Slowly, the bird grows quieter, not silent, but calmer. That moment is more radical than any outer achievement, because for the first time she did not abandon herself in crisis. She chose presence over flight. That is the essence of regulation. But the path is not romantic. The nervous system resists change. Old triggers return, old patterns claw back. A message left on read sends the stomach twisting. A cold tone from a lover freezes the throat. A memory of betrayal rushes through like fire in the veins. And here is where women falter. They think healing means these reactions disappear forever. It does not. Healing means when they return, you meet them differently. Instead of spiraling for days, you ground yourself in minutes. Instead of collapsing into self-hate, you anchor into self-trust. That difference is everything. The danger of ignoring this truth is brutal. Without regulation, you will keep attracting partners who feel like storms, because storms mirror your inner chaos. You will keep abandoning yourself in moments of conflict, because the body convinces you safety is found in silence. You will keep mistaking adrenaline for intimacy, because the nervous system has not yet tasted peace. And every time you repeat these cycles, the mirror fractures further, until the reflection staring back feels like a stranger. But there is another way. Regulation transforms attraction itself. Once the body learns calm, it no longer craves the highs and lows of chaos. It begins to hunger for steadiness, for presence, for love that feels like a warm river instead of a tidal wave. The nervous system rewrites its script, teaching you that safety can be seductive, that peace can be passionate. And in that shift, you no longer settle for men who trigger survival. You choose men who honor your existence. Picture the broken mirror again. This time, you kneel beside it, hands unafraid. You gather the shards carefully, piece by piece, bleeding a little as you go. It hurts, yes. But for the first time, you see how the fragments might fit together differently. Not into the perfect face you once knew, but into a mosaic, unique and unbreakable. This is the work of regulation, not erasing the cracks, but weaving them into beauty. The body holds memory, but it also holds possibility. Every tremor can become a lesson, every knot an invitation, every gasp of fear a chance to practice presence. To calm the nervous system is to tell the shadow, I will not exile you. It is to tell the inner child, I will not abandon you. It is to tell yourself, I choose to live, not just survive. And slowly the thunder inside begins to soften. The storm still rumbles, but you no longer mistake it for your own heartbeat. You realize the storm was never you. You were always the sky. Has this ever happened to you? You wake in the middle of the night, heart racing, chest heavy, breath caught halfway in your throat, as if some invisible hand pressed down on you. You glance around the room. Nothing moves, nothing threatens, yet your body reacts as though danger lurks at the door. That is the nervous system, still living in yesterday's battlefield, dragging you back into wars that ended years ago. The broken mirror stands before you once more. By now, you recognize its glimmer. No longer just a symbol of fracture, it is also a teacher, reflecting not only your wounds but your capacity to mend. For each shard holds not only memory but meaning. Trauma imprints the nervous system with the language of fear, but healing rewrites it with the language of presence. And presence is power. Carl Jung would tell us that true healing demands descent into the unconscious. And in that descent, the body is the map. The rapid heartbeat, the trembling hands, the restless legs, they are not enemies but coordinates. They point you toward the places in your history that remain unresolved. When your breath shortens in conflict, it is the child inside remembering voices raised in anger. When your stomach knots in intimacy, it is the shadow recalling betrayal. When your throat closes in silence, it is the anima begging for expression. To regulate your nervous system is to read this map and choose to walk it consciously, rather than be dragged blind. The Stoics understood the same principle. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. The obstacle becomes the way. The dysregulated body, the restless nights, the pounding chest, These are not interruptions to life, but the very doorways into deeper life. Each tremor is both obstacle and teacher. Will you dismiss it, medicate it away, numb it with distraction? Or will you take it in your hands even when it cuts and ask, "What do you need me to see?" Picture the woman who dares to ask. Her body trembles after conflict. Instead of rushing to text for reassurance, she places her hand on her belly, breathing into the knot. She whispers to herself what no one else ever said. It's safe to feel this. The trembling does not vanish instantly, but it softens. And in that softening, she proves to her nervous system that she is no longer a powerless child. She is a woman capable of holding her own storms. This is the beginning of true self-worth. But let us not romanticize the work. The nervous system will resist. It will scream that you need his reply right now. It will insist you are about to be abandoned. It will pull you into spirals of shame and desperation. This is where most women break, mistaking the intensity of the storm for truth. But storms pass. Truth remains. And the truth is, you are more than your adrenaline, more than your panic, more than your wound. You are the one who can stand still in the storm until it clears. Without this capacity, the costs mount. The body weakens. Relationships collapse. Life becomes an endless loop of seeking safety in others while abandoning safety within. Some women spend decades here, jumping from chaos to chaos, mistaking adrenaline for attraction, never realizing that what they call love is only reenacted trauma. That is the danger of never calming the nervous system. You live not as a chooser, but as a captive of memory. And yet, regulation changes everything. Once the body learns the rhythm of calm, attraction itself transforms. The men who once intoxicated you with chaos now bore you. The drama that once thrilled you now exhausts you. Instead, you crave steadiness, tenderness, presence. Your nervous system begins to hunger for the very thing it once resisted, peace. And when peace becomes seductive, your entire life begins to shift. The broken mirror reflects this shift. The shards no longer scatter light wildly. You begin placing them together. The face that emerges is not flawless. Scars trace through it, cracks remain visible. But it is strong, unshaken, and real. Wholeness does not mean perfection. Wholeness means you can look at your reflection and no longer flinch. This is what it means to calm the nervous system. Not erasing the past, but holding it differently. To sit with the trembling body and say, "You are mine. I will not leave you." To gather the fragments, even bleeding, and create a new image that is uniquely yours. And when that image stabilizes, something else awakens. Attraction is no longer about survival. Love is no longer about fear. Worth is no longer about performance. You discover that freedom does not come from avoiding the storm, but from knowing you can stand in its center without being destroyed. Today, perhaps more than ever, the cost of a dysregulated nervous system is visible everywhere. Burnout passed off as ambition, anxiety disguised as romance, exhaustion masked with filters and smiles. But beneath it all lies the same unspoken truth. When the body is not safe, no relationship, no success, no appearance will ever feel enough. Safety cannot be faked. It must be lived. The broken mirror stands almost whole now. You have bled gathering its shards, cut your palms on the sharpness of memory, but you have begun to piece it together. Not to erase the cracks, they remain etched like lightning across glass, but to create something different, something stronger. This is the nature of regulation, to transform wounds into wisdom, reflexes into rituals, chaos into calm. Carl Jung believed that what we resist persists and what we integrate liberates. Integration means no longer fleeing from the trembling hands, the restless nights, the pounding chest. It means welcoming them as visitors. Ah, here is fear, here is grief, here is anger. You do not exile them, you sit them at the table, you listen. And in listening, you rob them of their tyranny. The nervous system learns that it is no longer abandoned in its storms, it is witnessed, honored, soothed. The Stoics too knew this power. Seneca reminded us that true strength lies not in never being shaken, but in regaining balance quickly. A regulated nervous system does not mean you never tremble. It means you return again and again to your center. Like a tree bending in the wind but never uprooted, you sway but remain. That is resilience, not rigidity but rootedness. Picture the woman who lives this truth. She no longer confuses adrenaline with love. The men who trigger panic no longer draw her near. She does not chase messages to calm her pulse. She calms her pulse to choose her message. She does not surrender her worth to silence or chaos. Instead, she holds herself steady, and from that steadiness she chooses, not out of fear, but out of power. This is the difference between survival and sovereignty. The cost of ignoring this is stark. A life lived in reaction, decades wasted in relationships that replay the same wounds, a body that grows sicker with each betrayal of its signals, a soul that forgets it was ever meant to be free. Without regulation, the nervous system becomes both jailer and cell, locking you in patterns you mistake for fate. But with regulation, the cell door opens. You realize the jailer was only a frightened child waiting for your hand. The broken mirror gleams differently now. It is no longer an accusation but an altar. The cracks shine like rivers of gold, like the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold, becoming more beautiful for having been broken. So too with you. Your nervous system, once fractured by trauma, becomes luminous when tended with compassion. The scars remain, but they are no longer shame. They are proof of survival. They are the map of return. And here is the most radical truth. Calm is not passive. Calm is power. Calm is what allows you to walk away from what diminishes you without flinching. Calm is what lets you hear chaos without becoming it. Calm is what transforms attraction so you no longer chase the storm, you choose the steady flame. Calm is not weakness. Calm is the highest form of strength because it means you are no longer ruled by fear. So the question is no longer whether you will feel fear. You will. The question is, when it comes, will you collapse or will you breathe? Will you betray your body again or will you honor it at last? Will you remain captive to adrenaline or will you choose the steady rhythm of peace? These choices define the woman you become. The mirror stands assembled, imperfect yet radiant. The reflection staring back is no longer a frightened child, no longer a fragmented shadow. It is a woman who has walked through fire, gathered her own pieces, and chosen herself. Her nervous system no longer dictates her worth. Her calm no longer waits for permission. And she knows now, love is not a battlefield nor a waiting room. Love is a temple she enters on her own terms. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.